Hey y'all, hey, it's Ashe. Real quick, I wanted to do a video on some of the easiest energies to work with. Now, I personally haven't worked with energies in a few years, even though I still get visits from some of my favorites, some of the energies that I've dealt with the most in the past. I've learned to master a totally different aspect of magic and energy work. But if you're just starting out and you are interested in working with different deities, whether it be the Orisha or some of the Medu Nectar, or even some of the Loa from Voodoo, here are a few of the energies that are really easy to work with, and who require minimal energy when you're first coming into practicing spirituality, again depending on if that's the route that you want to take. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody in particular to work with these deities or energies, because that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But if you are interested, and that's the journey, or that's the path that you're already taking, here are a few ways that you can contact these deities. So the first deity that's going to be super easy to work with is going to be Anubis. Ah, man, I have an affinity for Anubis. Anubis is the uh, guide of the underworld. Osiris is the actual god of the underworld, but Anubis, he guides you through darkness. He also has access to the Akashic records. I'll tell you a quick story about the first time I really dealt with Anubis. He was coming to me like crazy in the form of dogs and spiders, black spiders, which was something that I didn't really. And it was odd because I haven't known him to be associated with spiders, and I actually have never really found that information to like correspond to anything. But when you know, you know, and a lot of the ways that energies reach out to you is in ways that will trigger you into thinking, or trigger your process into knowing exactly who's reaching out to you. So the first time that I really dealt with Anubis, I was seeing like black spiders everywhere. It was like Anubis wants to talk to you, and this is just everything, and it's just like I'm clear audience, so I hear things. So I'm hearing it over and over and over and over and over, and I'm like, okay, what's up? And I'm so gangster when it comes to talking to any energies. I'm like, what's up, newbie noob? Like, what's up, bro? Like, where you at? What you want to say? What you got to talk to me about? What's going on? And so I did a meditation that I just focused on Anubis. And so the first thing that happened during this meditation, it was so beautiful. Anubis is like the GOAT. And I've been in meditation with him plenty of times. This is just the first time. So I walked down this long hallway, this long dark hallway. And at the end of the hallway, there are some stairs. I go down the stairs, and there's like this long pathway. It's like darkness on either side. And I look at the end of it, and it's just like this spotlight on this book. And I walk down to the end of the hallway, and it's like the book of life or the book of something. I don't know what the book was. And it's so funny because I tell people the story. It's like, nigga, you signed the book? Yes, I did sign the book. So I wrote my name in the book. I remember just signing my name in the book. And when I turned around, here is Anubis. When I say like larger than life, super like giant, like 8 feet tall, jackal head deity situation. But I wasn't afraid, because I'm rarely afraid during any of these experiences, because I done seen a lot. I done been to some places spiritually. So, but it was wild because I gave him a big hug. It was like I gave him this big hug and like wrapped my arms around his waist, and I didn't realize that he was my father. It was weird. So he was like my spiritual father. And so he took me, like he was like, all right, well, follow me. So I followed him, and we went up these stairs, and the light, now mind you, I'm in darkness this whole time outside of the little spotlight, and the light when he opened this door was so bright. Now mind you, I'm in meditation in complete darkness. It was so bright that I had to like I opened my eyes to look around to see if a light was like shining on me or shining in my face, and there was like no light. I'm still in complete darkness, but the light behind my eyes was just so bright. It felt like I was like a light had been shined on me from the outside world. So we go into this room and there's like a person laying on the table, and this is around the time that I got all the truth and the information about burials and how we're not being buried, right? So yeah, that was the first time that I met Anubis. And he's super dope. Call on him if you want something done as far as just really, he's a gatekeeper. And he's the keeper of the darkness. So typically what he's keeping is going to be the Akashic records, is going to be deep dark knowledge and information. A lot of it is life purpose and soul purpose, soul mission. So the second deity who's super easy to access is going to be Poppa Legba. Now Anubis may be a little easier than Legba, but Legba is my dog for real. And I will note that all of these energies are gatekeeper energies. So typically a gatekeeper is going to be a lot easier to access than the other energies, and you'll use gatekeepers to access other energies as well. So Poppa Legba, Eshua Legwa, that's the homie for real. And like I said, when I talk to these deities, it ain't like, oh, humble, I am your humble sir. It be like, what's good, Leg? What's good, bro? Like, how you be? How you feeling? What's really good with you? But Legba, that's the bro, that's the homie. And again, they come to me first. So Legba is always easy to access if, number one, if you call him, he's gonna come. But you definitely have to do a lot more with Anubis. He don't require an offering. I mean, he really don't be requiring an offering. Like, he shows up to anybody who's willing to, and willing to help anybody who's willing to learn and listen and, is just seeking. He's just willing to help guide you through that darkness within yourself. Where Legba is like, yeah, I help, but for a fee. It's going to be for a fee. And also, because the Legba is just stretched into so many different energies and forms. You got the old man, but you also have the child. So you can get the wisdom, or he gonna play around with you. But I found with him that the playing around is always a test of your heart, is always the test and see if you're a worthy person. Like, he'll almost drive you to the point of just like, if you don't know what you're doing and you just in here trying to ask for something or beg for something, he's going to drive you to the point of confusion and frustration. I promise you. But if you hear just, being light of heart lighter than a feather, really just here to seeking the knowledge, seeking the information, he eventually will definitely make it to where you like, it's funny. It's really comical dealing with him. He's hilarious. So the best way to get in touch with him is going to be at a crossroad. So four corners. If you're at an intersection at the street, you can drop 3 pennies at each corner of the intersection. He likes pennies. His number is 3. He likes sweets. He likes spicy. And he likes alcohol, preferably brown alcohol. He likes cigars. So what I would suggest is, if you really want to open a portal or open a gateway to get to Legba, and now mind you, I practice hoodoo. I don't practice voodoo. I don't practice Ifa. So in my hoodoo practice, I kind of take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I create, what it is, just because there are so many bloodlines and things that I'm attached to, just by being who I am, and a lot of you, the same thing. But anyway, so an offering for Legba, just to kind of bring him into your space, would be keys. He loves keys, depending on what it is that you're trying to invoke. So if you want to invoke the old man wisdom, Legba, tobacco, cigars. I like the little fireball alcohols you get for like $1 at the Wine and Spirits, but it's like a cinnamon alcohol. He loves cinnamon. Red is his color, black is his color. But you can also do something like candies, the red hot candies. He loves the little red hot candies, peppermints. You could do little toy cars. You could do dice. You can do keys. Red candle, black candle, preferably red candle. They got the little dollar store ones that smell like cinnamon. You really can get all his stuff like from the Dollar Tree, and he'd be good with it. He's also he just does so much. He's a traveler of the realms. That's also like one of my spiritual like spiritual parents. My life path is 3. It's just so many things about Legba. He's ruled by Mercury. He's a messenger. I'm a Virgo. Mercury is my, is my planet's ruler. My Mercury is in Gemini, which is also a planet ruler of it's a whole bunch that goes with me and Legba, but I rocks with him super hard. That's why I keep my keys around, even though I don't really deal with the energy too much. Like I don't have an altar for him or anything like that. I still do throw up the gratitude for all of the things that I've gotten, just in the past through dealing with Legba. He's super, that's the homie. That's the homie. So yeah, you can leave his offering. I ran down a few things that you can leave as an offering to him, but you can leave his offering at railroads. He likes bridges too. Now, he really likes bridges. I can tell y'all a story about the first time I met Legba. Man, it's just so many things. Like I said, I've been to the places, but I had a dream of Legba. He was, I'll tell y'all how silly he is. So I had a dream about Legba, but he was a little girl and I was an old man in the dream. I'm running around with this bum ass leg. Like I can't walk without a cane. And he is a little girl running under bridges and in this meadow and through the crossroads and here and there. And it was hilarious. And it was so funny. Like I was cracking up, like even woke up dying laughing because he's like, you can't catch me. You can't catch me. He's just running and ripping and zipping. And I'm like this old man with this bum leg trying to like slide around. But again, when you know, it's not a second guess. Like, oh, I wonder what that dream was about. I knew exactly what the dream was about. I knew exactly who had come to visit. And again, that's not my only time that I actually, dealt with Legba. There's plenty of other times that it's been revealed to me. He's been revealed to me. And each time it's just like hilariously silly. Like I got so many stories. I may have to do a whole video on just meeting Legba and a whole video on just meeting Anubis because they goated for real. Them the ones. But the gatekeepers, are ones that you always want to keep around if you are going to deal with different energies. Okay, so lastly, a really, really easy energy to get into is going to be Baron Samdi. Now, the thing about Baron Samdi is he's the Loa. He is from the New Orleans voodoo tradition, which is voodoo and not voodoo, which is more of the Haitian tradition, but he is a Loa. And the thing about Baron Samdi is the fact that he will come to you, but he's a gatekeeper. That only comes to people after they've dealt with other gatekeepers. So Anubis is probably like the very first gatekeeper that you'll see on your mission, and you'll be opened up to a whole host of energies like Thoth and Beset came to me a lot. But Thoth and Anubis, like they still come to me. And then once you kind of transcend that level, you get into Legba, and then you get into the Oya, the Ogun, the Oshosi, the Oshun, Obatala, Shango. All of those energies like to come around after Legba has kind of like sent out the okay. But then you get to another level in your practice where, okay, love and light, but graveyard dirt. And this is when Baron Samdi comes in and Mama Brigitte, and they are very easy to invoke. They're very easy because they'll come around. They'll scare the shit out of you, but they will come around. So a quick story about finding Baron Samdi. And they always love me, and every time they come around and I actually tap into them, they treat me like, bruh, I've been waiting for you. Like, where have you been? Like, you the homie. And Baron Samdi is definitely the homie. So again, in another meditation, it was around the time that I found out that I was supposed to read bones, and I do read bones. I haven't in a while, but I do read bones. This is around the time that I created my bone readings, or got the bones for my readings, which is another story for another day. And so I'm like in meditation again. Now, mind you, none of these things happens on any substances. I have some wild things, like even wilder than this, that happened during trips. But none of these things happened during any trips. I wasn't even smoking weed at the time. Like I was just straight sober mind, highly connected to all of my spiritual practices. And so I'm in a meditation, and suddenly my whole left side of my body turns into a skeleton. It's like bone. It's just like a skeleton on the left side of my body. And I'm like, okay, what's the deal? Like, what is going on here? So I go deeper into it, and this is actually where I met one of my past selves, who I still go and visit from time to time. But she was a older woman, or I was, because it was me, she was me. And she's in a cave, and I can access that cave. It's really wild. Like, the things that I could really go in and tell y'all about my spiritual practices and the things that I've seen, it really can fill up books. So yeah, there's a cave, and then so I go into the cave, and while I'm in the cave, she is just sitting there throwing nuts and rocks and bones. And there's a big fire. Her face is all white. She got a big old cigar. She's an older woman. She's a little heavy set, but her whole face is painted white. Now, this is after I done saw my whole left side of my body turn into a skeleton or whatever. So I get there, and she's throwing bones or whatever, and she pretty much like blows this smoke in my face and lets me know that, like, I am her. Like, this is what, this is my form of divination. So after all that, I come kind of like back into the present, if that makes sense, because that was like a past life that I had visited. So I'm back in the present, and like, my left side of my body, my arm, my hand is still a skeleton. So I'm looking at it with my third eye, like my eyes are closed, but my arm is up, and I'm like visualizing this skeleton arm, and I'm like, who is this? Who is this? I had no idea. So later on that day or week or sometime around that time, Baron Samdi came up, and I actually was with a sister of mine, and she was like, yeah, the Baron. And she actually introduced me to, why can't I think of her name? Morte. I can't think of her name, but she is a Hispanic deity. Hold on, let me get her name. Santa Morte. That's her name. And I was introduced to her, and she's super dope too. She's 5'5". She's 5'5". But I didn't work with her too long. I did get into a phase of working with deities who dealt with more of the darker underworld side of things. That was kind of short-lived, but nonetheless super powerful during that time. Like, it was just a whole lot of transitions and transformations, and I found myself on the underside of really these transitions and transformations. And that's like one of the things that I will shoot out to you, is the fact that when you start to deal with these different deities and these different energies, and you go to the dark side, just know that the dark side is really a part of it. Like, especially when you're dealing with different deities and energies, there are different levels to the dark side. Like, you might not go straight Gele, Santa Morte, Meme Brigitte, Baron Samdi, but it's definitely not always love and light. And I tell people all the time, sometimes it is graveyard dirt and blood. And I will tell y'all about my times, on that side of the fence. So anywho, during that time, and it's so funny that I say this because they're staring at me, it's Santa Morte. So during that time, I was able to, I actually linked up with a sister of mine, and she introduced me to Baron Samdi. And I was like, oh, that's who it was. That's who was calling me. So yeah, that's how I found out who he was, because I had no idea who he was. And I read up more on him, and I was like, oh man, this was him the whole time. And as soon as he realized that I had recognized or acknowledged him, he was like, yo, my dude, like, where have you been? You the homie. I knew you from that life before. When you was doing that, that's how I knew. That's when I met you. And we miss you because you was bringing us through. And this is just the energy. Like, it's just so many different levels of the messages that was coming to me. But it was like, and you used to bring us through for people. Like, you used to talk to us all the time. And this is like my Bridget ancestors. Really kind of more like a necromancer type vibe, which I don't think I want to be in this life. But ancestors definitely do come to me and talk to me. And, I'm open for them when they're here, but I wouldn't consider myself straight up into that art of everything because I'm just not, I'm just not with the seeing them all the time everywhere. So yeah, those are the 3 energies that are super easy to contact. If that's the road that you want to go on, that's the road that you want to go on. They're super easy. Definitely treat them with respect, but also don't get to the point where you're lost in worshiping them because you feed them just like they feed you, and that's the exchange. So be very aware of the energy exchange that you're having when you are invoking and dealing with these certain type of energies. Also make sure you're being very, very clear on the energies that you are getting, and don't be afraid to tell them to identify themselves. Don't be afraid to tell them to tell you who they are, because there's definitely some other stuff floating around here. So you want to be 100% sure and true to knowing exactly who it is that you're dealing with and who you're calling on. That's it. I know this was kind of long, but there's so much more to talk about. I've been holding a lot in. So look for a few more videos later on down the line. Just maybe going a little more in depth with a lot of these different experiences that I had, because everything is coming from experience. It's not theory. It's not Google. It's not a book. It's oh no, it's 100% experiences that I've had with just different levels of engaging in magic. So, wholeness.